Good day, it is Stephen Davids here. In this video I will discuss methods of protecting data in Google Forms and Spreadsheets. While this video is more directed towards the small business or small company, it is also applicable of use. Security is needed to protect an organization's intellectual property, to prevent accidental or sometimes deliberate damage to files. Maybe someone wants an unhappy employee, he wants to leave, or to limit the people who can have access to files. You do not want customers to have access to your internal files, and to identify people who made authorized or unauthorized changes. For example, you must know the accountant who made accountancy changes, and the person claiming money and reimbursements didn't go and make payout changes. So those are some of the reasons why security is needed. And as a general rule, the database administrator has overall access to every file and folder. Now, security consists out of a complementary set of layers. Security must be like the layers of an onion versus an egg. If you make a hole in the eggshell, the whole egg is ruined and everything is finished. While security works like the layers of an onion, if you penetrate one layer, there's still another layer. So all the layers that we discussed here complement each other. One of the first methods we use is to give access to people via the websites folder. And you do this, the folder access in the website, you do this via the website setting, then you go to the sharing page and permissions, and the sharing page and permissions, then here you go and give people to a specific folder. And if someone has access to a folder, he or she has access to all the subsequent folders lying beneath it. There are some notes to take note of, and then it's better to give people access to your files via the intranet than to give them access just plain to go to the drive. And the reason for this is that you can have more aesthetically pleasing presentations of your files for your internal employees as well as for outsiders that must have it. And then another thing is to note is that the advantage of the folder sharing is, of course, that if you set permissions for the folder, every subfolder underneath it takes the same permissions and security settings. In other words, if you have the intranet for all stakeholders, staffs, learners, and teachers, assessors of school or whatever, then everyone else, the folder underneath it has that permissions. Then you can have a subfolder where you have only staff available, and then but in order, you must remember, in order for people to have here a permission in this sub-level directory, they must have permission to enter via the upper higher level folder. Another note is that the security settings must correspond. If you have on a website a certain folder and the settings must correspond with the settings on the drive, the reason is very simple, that the website folder only links the drives folder to the website. On a website, when you have documents or text that relates to the documents and files that are in the drive, it merely links it. You do not create new elements in a website folder if and when you merely links it. You can, of course, create absolutely new elements, but we talk now of linking documents from the folder. And then it means that if you have certain settings here, the same security settings must be applicable in the drive and for the file or form. Meaning, for example, and this, if you have a form or a folder that's only open for the learners, and you have a form that learners must fill in, you put it here. But on your file, on your drive folder, you make the security settings and the shape settings that folder or file is only open for personnel. Folder, the learner here can via the website try in vain, he will not open this form. For example, the satisfaction or registration form. Therefore, if you want to have someone on your website must access a form on the drive or the drive folder itself, the people that you share must be the same. Another note is that if administrator set certain settings for a specific file, you can set that settings and then it appears to override the settings of the folder or the directory. For example, you can give permission to IT personnel or some contractor to assist you with a file, and then you can temporarily give him permissions, and you set the permissions of the file. Then when you see the file there, you see the permission icon in the menu bar, and then you temporarily overrides the limits set on the folder. A second important layer is that you then share and limit access to the drive folder. In the previous discussion, we discussed the website folder, how people can access your files on the drive via the website. And now we have another limit and security sharing that we want to address, and that is on the drive folder itself. We start with organize usually the files in terms of the content. For example, it is admin that has access to a file, finance, HR file. Organize your files like that. And then you subdivide your files. In this case, you have a learners management database. In terms of who can access it, processors, staff, or learners. In this example, you have a learner management database and only the staff, all staff can read it. Then you have a gate that's only open to the IT. And then you have an admin and finance, people that can only access the learner contract, and the subjects only as assessors and administrators. The reason why we organize it like this is because if you have all these files in one directory, for example, it becomes a little bit more difficult or more work. Let me put it to you, more work. They are involved then to organize who has only access to some files. The assessors and administrators, whilst it's more easy to group the files, all assessors and admin have access to these files. All learners have access to others. These files are closed to most people, only to the IT personnel. If you want to share the permissions of a directory, you just left click on the folder and then click share, and on the menu items that appear, and there's also an alternative way how the folder sharing functionality is available. It's on the folder, and then you see on the headings menu bar there. And what you then do is, for our purposes, you we click on who has access, and the access is usually private. Only administrator has access. And if you have want to open the access maybe to learners or whoever only, we click here to the change. The default will be private, as only the administrator will have access, but because it's a company, we also need to change the people having access and the people having access. There are certain elements that we usually prefer. We use this very little for our intranet. Very little for our internet, not at all, in fact, for our internet, excuse me. We use it perhaps on the public for people from outside want to leave a message, contact us, but for intellectual property reasons, we do not use these, even anyone with a link documents. We use very seldom for security reasons people on the BAP call Center of Learning, because you get learners that are on our site, but we also have personnel, and you don't want personnel files just to be accessible to learners, maybe an example, or to learners file to be available to outside contractors. A painter, what does he have to do with it? So these, anyone with a file link, we use it very, very seldom. The method we use is use it more, make the directories more available to certain specific people, and then we group them into learners, assessors, moderators, access. And these groups of people then get access to certain areas and files. And so should someone wants to give someone a permission, that the only person they will go through to give someone permission to a certain section is then the go to the administrator. Then the sharing, as I said before, we invite people as groups, maybe specific people, and then we also for security reasons prevent editors from changing access and adding new people. If you really want to add people, there are many ways to kill a cat, and there's many ways to do the thing, and therefore there are many options available in Google, but these are our preferences. You click prevent editors from changing access and adding people. They must request the administrator to do so. And then to automatically set an expiry date, you click on the individual or the group of people that you want, and then when you hover over the name, you will see the clock, the time watch icon will appear, and if you click on that time icon, you can then set the expiry date 7 days, or you can even set a customary date. Instead, this will help you then, instead of having to remember you must remove people's permission to drive or a document or what, it will automatically expire within a certain time. And then if you simply want to delete someone whom you have granted permission, then you just click here on the delete icon. Just by the way that for security reasons, not only to prevent people from changing access, but disable options for documents to download, to print, to commentators. This is because we put a lot of effort into our policies, and you don't want just someone come and download your other intellectual properties and copy. There may be instances where they can see it, but while we have a balance between openness, transparency, and we also are cognizant of the fact that we have intellectual property that we want to protect. And then you, of course, you change, save the changes that you want. A third way of securing your data is to use a form. If you use a form, you give outside people access to a row of data, and they can't work within the old spreadsheet. And then also you use a form to set limitations to your collaborators. A form will limit the users, of course, to a specific row of data where they can input the data. You use settings to control the users, what they can do with the forms and with the underlying spreadsheet. For example, at this stage, our organization is not able really to collect the email addresses, but when we are able to activate this facility, we will do so. The restrict to Batupele send off learning, this is for the intranet. The website per se is okay, but the intranet, our policies and procedures, we clicked it here. And then limit one response. This is mostly used maybe for registrations, but you get other where people can have more than one response. For example, if they want to submit reimbursements, complaints, or they want to register subjects, then we enable this. The respondents can generally edit after they submit the form, and this is the course learner context, subjects, registration, request for material, and people may make a mistake. It's human to make mistakes. We do not necessarily see the summary charts and responses because the people that evaluate the inputs, they have access to the spreadsheets themselves, and they do not use the forms to access the data. Then also, still with the forms, we do not necessarily use the collaborators because collaborators are people who edit the form and it's a company spreadsheet, and they are not users completing the forms, and we want to have stability in terms of the forms themselves, and therefore we do not really add collaborators. We keep it, and should it become necessary, I think we will limit it to utmost. The collaborators, you add the same way that you change permissions, namely change here, only some people have access, and then prevent people from adding that. And you can also add the passwords for each individual who accesses the form. That is possible, and then you also have greater access to people. The fourth way of protecting data is to protect the spreadsheet file itself. Protect the spreadsheet file itself by adding an share file. You only want certain people having access, and this share functionality is more or less the same throughout. It's also available, the whole file. You can also run the menu. And then part of the protection, because we are very, as I said, the balance between openness and transparency, there must be openness. You click on your advanced if you want to protect the confidential information, such as prevent editors from changing people and disable options to download. And then you also set here that people who can't edit, they can't comment, but they can only view. They can view. These are the things you set, as well as prevent editors from changing. Another way of protecting our data is to protect the cell and ranges and the content of the sheets, as well as the sheets themselves. Because ultimately you need people that will have to work with the data themselves in the spreadsheets. So one way is to have attention boxes with description and notes, telling people please do not remove or change anything in those 2 to 10 as they contain important information, highlighted in a certain way, contain important information. Then we also have our cells. Cells have red with red colors in general indicates formulas and must not be tampered with. So when people who have access to the background data in the spreadsheet, and then they immediately can see your notes as well as a red cell the encounter means that there is a red containing the information. Then also, but where must they write? So we have another note. Green colored cells or columns in a protected range indicates areas to input. Remember, green is although. So the person input, oh, here are the green areas I can input. But I'm not supposed to input in any other areas because the other colors indicate maybe important, maybe it's for reading access, maybe it is to protect the cells red or for visibility, but the only area where you can input is in the green. A fourth way to protect your cell is to add notes to cells telling you not to input all. Please do not change as this data is being automatically inserted. Tell them, or you tell them who can insert data. These concerns are only representative of the financial data. Partner must fill in this data. So that is a note, and then they know, okay, I can't. That's as I say, it's an additional method. And then this is basically the 2 last methods are the top methods, and this is to use the data protect the range sheet except certain ranges. Use this data protect ranges sheets function, and using that you can then especially first protect the sheet and then open certain cells or ranges. This function is especially useful except certain ranges for awkward looking cells, like in this cell they can change, and then that cell they can change, but they can't change here, for example these 2 or the rest in this column. Here you have 1 range, 2 range, 3 range, second, 4th range, 5th, so you continue. In this you just have this white range and then the 3 other ranges. You can get people permission to, and you then said of course you can edit this range and then you set to them the permissions the same way as you do usually the process. Please remember, all users are firstly granted access to the file, and then thereafter you give people specific access to specific ranges, and but they must first have access to the cell. You can't just give them access to a range. You must first give them access to the cell. Then make backup copies of the files. That is what we to use. Go to the previous version is sometimes a little bit of a slap. It's far better to have a specific backup directory. And your backup directory, you keep it closed. You don't give permission to anyone, maybe only the top IT people have access for that. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please like and share this video and give us a thumbs up.